Hello everyone, I'm Lost, and I know I'm probably a little late to the party on this one, but still, I find this subject to be absolutely fascinating, so I wanted to talk about it. A few days ago, there was a post on 4chan claiming that they had information about Dark Souls 4. The perceptive viewer will already know though that the likelihood of this being true is very low. That being said, speculation is fun, and looking at this leak, whether or not it's true, has some entertainment value, so that's what we are going to be doing. The first line of the leak states that development started midway through EE's. I think that's supposed to be Elden Ring, but they wrote EE instead of ER. Around the time it was announced. Hidetaka is only involved as a supervisor. Tanimura is director. Hidetaka considers him his fixer and wants to give his protege an opportunity to make his own game without the shit that was attached to Dark Souls 2 development. It's also a test of sorts to see if the development team can handle a project without him. It's nice that the leaker here is on first name basis with Miyazaki. Game is like Dark Souls through and through. Much smaller scale than EE, again, ER as in Elden Ring, but with a smaller budget too. Described as playing like Dark Souls 3.5. This is interesting. If I were to do this, I would probably do the same thing. One of the few things I would bring from Elden Ring to Dark Souls 3.5 would be jumping though. I really think that the jump mechanic added so much, brought a whole nother dimension to both the level design and the combat. I love that. The game was originally envisioned as to take place in the Dark Souls universe, but it's set in the distant future in which everything from the OG trilogy is a distant memory, so it's not really a sequel. It was supposed to take place in the age of the deep sea that Aldrich dreamt of, but this may or may not be the case in the final version. And just so you guys know, there are a lot of grammatical and spelling errors here. It feels like this person doesn't really speak English as their first language, which is a thing that you should keep in mind. That being said, the scenario that is being suggested here makes perfect sense, and I find it to be really fascinating. If I was going to make this game, I would definitely set it far into the future where the events of Dark Souls 1 to 3 are but distant memories. In fact, if we take a look at the story of the Dark Souls games, it's much more about the first flame and how it sucks the humanity out of the people to sustain itself. The Dark Soul is but the foundation, and the first flame is what affects everything. Now, in Dark Souls 3, the first flame dies. Nothing you can do will change that. The first flame is dead. So now, the only power that remains is that of the Dark Soul. And how does that manifest itself in the world of Dark Souls? Well, it does that through, or as, the pus of man. And just imagine for a moment, the pus of man lying dormant at the bottom of the sea, or something like that, while new people start building their own empires, and then, for whatever reason, the pus of man awakens and start corrupting everything. Which is kind of what the leaker is going to describe here. He says that the game has a heavy corrupted water theme. It takes place in a coastal area with seaside temples and fishing villages. Enemies are mostly dark, corrupted, shadowy sea beasts. It has a very dark mood, and what I get from this is also a very Lovecraftian kind of flavor to it, which I love. Bloodborne is perhaps my favorite setting out of all of the Dark Souls games, or FromSoft games, so if this is true, which it's probably not going to be, I would love this. The main gameplay innovation is its dual level design. If this thing exists. I should probably say that again and again. It's much more in line with the Dark Souls series than Elden Ring, which means it's way more linear. That being said, it has two maps, one on land and the other underwater. Underwater has a much different rule set, but no real swimming in the game sense. It's all at the bottom of the abyssal ocean. Boats are a thing, but are more like special warp points to get to different parts of the map. Well, if they say that, why would they mention boats? That's weird for me if it's just going to be a different version of a bonfire or a grace. I mean, maybe we could get like a set piece where you travel from one ocean to the next and you have to fight creatures on the boat. Smaller additions include new weapon types. Yeah, that's... If they make another Dark Souls or another Elden Ring, if they make a new game, it's going to have new weapons. A new magic system, which, quite frankly, I would very much appreciate. The old magic system in Elden Ring is very basic. Also, it says that miracles and pyromancies have been forgotten. And the usual stuff. Okay. This is, I mean, perfectly realistic. I don't know if I would call it believable, but I don't think it's a bad idea. This would make total sense to me if I was FromSoft. FromSoft is expanding. They are pouring way more resources into way more games. So to have this series to fall back on, to create a quality entry maybe every 2 or 3 years, could be really cool. I don't want this to turn into Call of Duty and have a new iteration every goddamn year with loot boxes and all of that stuff, but the Dark Souls games, Elden Ring, Bloodborne, Sekiro, they all create this incredibly unique experience, and I would love to have more of it. So, that's the end of the video. Please guys, let me know in the comments, would you like this? Are you opposed to the idea of a new Dark Souls game, or a Dark Souls-like game from FromSoft, let's say every 2.5 years? I'd be down for that. Now, this is probably where I should end the video, but here's the thing. It's not 8 minutes yet. 8 minutes on YouTube is the magic number, so if you don't mind, I'm going to pad out this video. It's fine though, we actually have a quality invasion here. In fact, I remember this invasion really well. In fact, I was so proud of my commentary here, I thought I did a really good job. Unfortunately, I experienced some sort of bug. I think it's because the game has a tendency to crash on me, and when I reload, I don't get my microphone audio recorded when I go with the GeForce Experience. It's a sad state, but hey, it is what it is. Still, the fight was pretty good and I almost got him here. Unfortunately, I was way too late to grab the riposte, so I didn't actually get the damage, which is something I hope FromSoft will eventually fix. One can hope. Hey, maybe in Dark Souls 4, eh? Oh, I'm almost dead. The guy had me. He should have been pushing me there instead of just staying in his safe space. Let's call it that. Now, I had this guy pretty well handled, I would say, but then all of a sudden we get another red involved, and he, well, is about to finish business. I could have helped the red here, but I thought, you know what, the red just came in, let's get that man some action. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe, please, or I will shank you in the throat, and I'll see you guys later.